Well, howdy y'all. My name is Randy, aka Banjo Randy, and I'm totally blind and I'm getting back into my woodworking. I started my woodworking again back in 2021, but I had previously done woodworking in the past when I could still see. I was visually impaired then. But I want to address something real quick. I don't normally wear glasses throughout my normal day. Now this is an old pair of prescription glasses that I used to wear when I could still see, which allowed me to still have some vision a long time ago. But the only reason I'm wearing them now is just to protect my eyes. But I'm totally blind. I don't have light perception or nothing anymore. But I wanted to show y'all my two latest projects, which is these desk sets that I made right here. Now this one right here is one of two that I made last year. This is my prototype, I guess you can say. But all of these are made out of walnut. The top part where the clock and pen or pencil would go is made from using 1.5-inch square stock. And I didn't have enough height that I needed with two of these pieces together, so I bought a piece of 1/4-inch maple, and that's a strip somewhere right in here, right through the middle, and that gave me the height that I needed. And plus this maple really accents well, you know, with walnut. But I'm going to try to attempt to show y'all how I made these and how I come up with this design. So just bear with me, folks. I'm kind of a little bit nervous. I'm not used to kind of explaining how I do things with my woodworking, because all this is basically second nature to me. I don't think about it, you know, when I'm downstairs working. So I'm going to try to remember the steps here. But the first thing I had to do is come up with the design. And this is the design right here. I hope that y'all are able to see this. This is based on an old style mantel clock that I built years ago as well. Of course, it's much bigger scale than this. But I always thought that this would make a nice little desk set. So what I've done to make this is I took a piece of 1/4-inch plywood, which is this right here, of course, and I used a set of hole saws that I have to make the arches and the radius there. This one right here, this radius, I used a 1-inch. And of course the top radius was a 3.5-inch for the top arch. And that's what you see right here. That's the top arch I cut out. And I cut this hole out here to give me a centering piece to center the hole once I got the piece cut out, my template. So let me put this here out of the way. So when I put these pieces together, the bottom two right here, there's a left and right on these. I actually cut these out using a plastic miter box I have, because it's much safer than trying to cut a small piece like that on the table saw. So that's why I use my plastic miter box. And when I put this together, I had to make sure that these points right here met evenly right here. I hope y'all can see that. Of course, this is the original template right here. So these pieces was actually mounted on this to start with. I have this on here to kind of try to show y'all how I did that. So once I did that, when I put these pieces on this piece of plywood to start with, I then took this over to the drill press, and with I believe a 1/2-inch Forstner bit, I then took and nibbled away as much material here as I possibly could. And once I've done that, I've got an old scrap piece of 2x4 I cut down and used. As you can see, there's holes I used for like setting the depth for my drill press for these clock faces. But what I've done was I took, of course, which was this piece right here. Like I say, it was my original template. So I had to make sure when I put this on here to get ready to trim this, that the router bit, when it came around this arch, would not catch anything. So I secured that down on here, and then I took this here flush trim pattern bit that I have, a mega bit, I think it's called. Okay, keep up with this. And once that was on this piece of 2x4, screwed down and then clamped to my table, my workbench, you know, I followed the profile here. And that's how I come up with this first template right here. After I done that, I put this stop on there so that the piece can rest up against it. I sure hope I'm not confusing y'all folks. I'm a little bit nervous, so. There should be another, yeah, this is another template I made. But here's where that round piece come in. Once I got this all, well, this one actually, you know, this is the first one. Once I got that done, I then took this here piece right here and set it on here and lined it up across the top right here. And once I done that, I took a punch that I have and punched through that hole right there. And that gave me the center so I would know where to drill for my clock insert. After I got that done, then I took the blanks. I'm going to use these blanks right here. These is the same, made from the same thing as these clocks right here are. They're just a little bit longer because I'm going to make a different clock with these right here. But once I put this here, well, I'm going to use this one right here to try to show y'all. Once I got that centered up like I wanted it, I put a screw right through here. And then I took it back off. And then where the hole was right here in the center, I took my square and lined it up on the top and scribed me a line across here. And then to find the center of this, where the pen or pencil would go, I then took a self-centering dialing jig I have and put it on here. And, you know, took my center punch and poked a hole in here. Then I took it to my drill press, and I have a fence on there. I put a 1/8 inch bit in the drill press, and then I lined that bit up with that hole right here, took the fence and got it where I wanted it. And then I slid this over to where the center line was. And then I put a hole that was about probably 3/4 of an inch deep. That's so after I get the arch and everything cut, I won't have to try to figure that out later. So after I'd done that, I put it back on the template right here. And the first ones that I made, which is these right here, I actually put a 1/2 inch bit, Forstner bit in my drill press, and I hogged out as much material. I put a little spacer, about a 1/8 inch spacer in here, so I would know about where to drill with that drill press. And I hogged out as much material all across here on both sides. After I'd done that, I put it back on this original piece here. And there's a hole up under here so that I can find the center hole and get it all mounted on there. And then I clamped this here down. And then again, I took my pattern bit right here. Of course, I traced the pattern, making sure that the bit didn't bottom out and hit this bottom piece right here. I stayed just slightly above that. And of course, that bit and the router just trimmed that all out. And that's how I come up with that shape. And I made a new one because the old one, you know, is made out of plywood. And this bearing, you know, is kind of dug in here a little bit. So I made a new one, which is this one right here. It's out of a piece of solid wood. So after I got these two blanks right here cut out, then I did a lot of sanding after that. That's when I took, well, I'm going to use this one here. It's one of the new ones I made. Then I took and did a lot of hand sanding to make sure that all these arches and curves were nice and smooth and the face was all smooth. Once I done that, then I took and made my base on here. Excuse me. And this is where this piece right here come in. This is a centering jig I made to put these together with, so all the edges and all would have an even reveal. And what I did here was, this is scrap pieces of, I believe it was 1 3/4 piece of lumber I had. So I made 2 L shapes, one here and one here. So I took one of these L shapes before they were glued and screwed together to my table saw. And then I'll use this blank here as a reference because it's 1.5 inch like these are thick. I laid it inside there, and then I took my rip fence and brought it up to where just the edge of the blade would almost touch this right here. After I'd done that, I locked everything down. Then I flipped the piece over and run it through until it cut the proper width that I needed on each one of these. Then I tested the fit again, and it still needed just a little bit more. It took off, so I kind of bumped it over just a little bit more and cut that out. Once I did that, I glued everything together. I actually get this here out to make sure that I had it the right length. Put that in here. This is before I put the base on there. I'll put that in there. And then I brought both of these together and I put a little bit of glue, and I drilled a hole and counterbore right there. Once I got that together, I glued it up and I screwed it together, and then I let that dry. And once that dried, I then took on the underside and I took a rabbiting bit, a 3/8 inch rabbiting bit that I had, and I routed a rabbet right here on all 4 corners, all 4 edges. Then I took a spring-loaded corner chisel I had and squared up the corners. But before I go on, I forgot to mention how I cut these out this time to get the excess out. I actually had put that, well, let me use this other one again. Let's see. Yeah. When I had put that on there, this time, instead of using a Forstner bit in my drill press, what I've done is I have a back saw. I took and clamped this to the workbench, making sure that whenever I cut it, that the back saw wouldn't hit my tabletop or anything. With that back saw and this screwed down on there, to the template, I then took, and again, I laid about a 1/8 inch piece of material in here so that my back saw wouldn't chew up my pattern right here in my template. And then I cut out all this excess as much as I could all around here with both of these pieces I recently made. After that's whenever I did all the sanding on the profile to make sure everything was nice and smooth and everything. So next was to make the base. Now these pieces right here are 4 1/4 inches long, of course 1.5 inch thick. So my base then would have to be basically 2 1/4 inches wide by 5 inches long. And whenever I cut that out on that piece of walnut that I had, I cut it just slightly over, and then I took it to the joiner, the 24 inch length. I didn't try to joint small pieces, of course, but I took it to the joiner and joined it until it fit right down in there nicely. Excuse me. And then I cut it to length with my miter gauge on my table saw. After I'd done that, I then took these pieces here, the top part. I took a 1/4 inch shank, 1/4 inch radius roundover bit, and I just eased the edges on the back side. And then I put a full profile on the front side, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch reveal. And I also did the same thing on the base, but the base right here, I used my router table to do that. So once I done that and got everything all sanded again, I sanded it up to 220, making sure that all the top was nice and smooth and all the edges was nice and smooth, and all the round over, wasn't no sharp corners. Then I took it back to my jig here, and I put the base in. That's before they were together, of course, making sure that the profile edge would be facing up. Then I took the top part, put glue on it, but actually before that again, I forgot something. On the base, I used this piece right here, which fits right in here. It's the same length and width of this right here. And when I put the base up under there, I put this piece in there. And then I took a punch that I had, punched 2 holes. And then I took the base to the drill press and drilled out both of them holes in both pieces. And then I also countersunk the bottom sides of them. That's whenever I took this stuff. Okay, that's when I took and put the base piece in the bottom. And then I put glue on the top side right here. Got them together. Then I put it on my workbench, clamped it down, and then from the underside, I put a screw through there. And of course, I turned it around to do the other side, you know, the other end with the screw. Then took that right there out. And after I done this, I did my final sanding up to 220. Now, these two right here, these are the ones that I made last week, finished up last week. I only put 4 coats of water-based polyurethane on here, and then 2 coats of Minwax paste wax. The original ones I made, I put 6 coats of water-based polyurethane and 2 coats of Minwax paste wax. And I just always like to use just a foam brush is what I usually use to apply my finish. And to put polyurethane, water-based polyurethane in here, I use this little glue brush that I had. You know, dipped it polyurethane and then put it down in there real good. Got all that done. So, and then after all that was done, I put the felt on the bottom of these two right here. And that completed my project. I certainly hope I didn't confuse y'all folks. Like I say, it's second nature to me, so I have to stop and think of all the steps I took to do this, because I'm not used to, you know, explaining how I done it. And like I say, I probably didn't do a good job explaining it. But these were fun projects right here. And I just want the sighted people to understand that just because I'm blind or that people are visually impaired does not mean that we can't do things, especially woodworking or whatever. But also I want to say to anybody out there that has a disability, whatever it may be, never, never give up on your hopes and dreams in life, because there's so many things we are able to do. All we want is just a chance to prove ourselves, you know, because there's so many things we can do. I do have a disability. I'm totally blind. However, I do not consider myself disabled at all. But anyway, I certainly hope that this helped bring a little light to how a totally blind person is able to do woodworking and to do it safely. And I just want to say that I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed day. And to all the woodworkers out there, remember to, you know, wear proper safety equipment and everything, and be alert in your shop and everything. And let's keep making sawdust. And again, I hope y'all have a wonderful and blessed day, and keep smiling. Y'all have a good one.
Take picture. Button. Viewfinder. Image. 19. Viewfinder. Take picture. Button. Stop recording video. Button.